The first thing Gideon Mercer noticed was not blood or bruises or the hard signs of violence the plains had taught him to expect. It was shame. A young woman lay twisted in the sunburned grass near the Smoky Hill River, her body arranged in a way no accident could explain. Her wrists were bound high and tight, her ankles drawn back until the strain bowed her spine. A torn white dress clung to her like it had surrendered its last purpose, the fabric lifted now and then by the Kansas wind, stealing what little dignity she had been left. The heat pressed down on her bare legs, unrelenting, cruel. Her face was flushed, not only from pain, but from humiliation so deep it made every breath look like work. Gideon froze where he stood. 48 years on the plains had shown him death by hunger, by stampede, by bullet. He had buried men who never saw the shot that took them. But this was different. This woman had been left alive on purpose. Posed. Displayed. A warning in daylight. She saw him then. Her eyes widened in terror before squeezing shut, as if the world itself had become unbearable. When she spoke, her voice broke around the words. "Don't look there." It wasn't a cry for help. It was a plea for mercy. Gideon's chest locked. He did not know where to look, so he looked nowhere at all. He fixed his eyes on the far horizon, jaw clenched, hands shaking like a boy caught someplace he did not belong. The woman shifted, the ropes biting deeper, and the movement dragged a sharp gasp from her throat. It was clear she had been stripped of more than her belongings. Whatever modest layers she once wore underneath had been taken, leaving her exposed in a way no decent soul would ever choose. Gideon reached to his saddle, pulled free a blanket, and tossed it toward her without turning around. "Don't move," he said softly, his voice cracking despite himself. The blanket landed across her legs. She exhaled a sound that was half relief, half sob. Dust clung to her cheeks, tears cutting pale tracks through the dirt. She tried to curl inward, but the rope stopped her short. Silence settled between them, thick and heavy, broken only by grasshoppers and the distant stamp of Gideon's horse. This was no storm's work. No animal's doing. Someone had taken time. Someone had meant for her to be found exactly like this. As Gideon knelt to cut the ropes at her ankles, her voice trembled again. "Please don't look." He nodded, though she could not see it. The heat beat down on open land, and one thought struck him harder than any bullet. If she had been left alive like this, then what kind of man was meant to find her? And what was supposed to happen next? He slid his knife free slowly, not to frighten her, just to do the job. "Ma'am, I'm going to cut the ropes," he said. "I won't look. I promise." Under the blanket she swallowed hard. "I didn't mean for anyone to see me like this." She let out a breath that sounded like laughter that hurt. "Guess that ship sailed." She tried for humor, and it wobbled like a crutch about to break. Gideon snorted once. "Quiet." "Yeah, well," she muttered, "I've had worse mornings." "Not by much." Still facing away, Gideon reached back and offered his canteen like a peace token. "Small sip. Don't choke." Her hand trembled as it found it. She drank, coughed, then sighed in irritation. "Warm as bath water." "Welcome to Kansas," Gideon said. "It does that in summer." That scrap of normal talk mattered. It reminded her she was human, not just a thing left on the grass. Her breathing slowed. The blanket stayed clutched around her like the last good thing in the world. "I'm Mabel," she said. "Most folks call me May." "Gideon," he answered. "Friends call me Gid." "You can call me whatever gets you through the next 5 minutes." She almost laughed again, then winced. The ropes had dug deep. The skin around her wrists was raw and swollen. Gideon felt old ranch anger rise, the kind that starts in the gut and climbs into the throat. Somebody had done this on purpose. Somebody had tied those knots slow and careful. "They took my bag," May said quietly. My shoes. And what little modesty I had left, just to be cruel. Gideon reached back and slid a second cloth toward her. Wrap that around your shoulders. There's no honor in the wind getting a better look than it deserves. She did, and for a second she sounded almost like a regular young woman again. If you tell anyone you saw me like this, I'll haunt your barn. Ma'am, Gideon said, if you can haunt, you don't need my help. But I'd appreciate you haunting the men who did this first. She went quiet. Then she whispered, I was headed for Abilene. The depot. I work there sometimes. They said I heard something I shouldn't. Abilene meant money, gossip, and men who smiled while they stole. Gideon shifted and lowered to one knee. All right, he said. I'm cutting the knot at your ankles. Don't look, she said sharply. He turned his face even farther away. Something snapped through the air. Dirt exploded beside his knee. Gideon reacted without thinking, yanking himself sideways and dragging May flat behind him. Another crack followed, close enough that grit stung his cheek. Stay low, he whispered. Like a fence post. I was hoping my day would end before the shooting part, May whispered. Me too, Gideon said. But Kansas don't ask. He smelled burnt powder. The shooter was close. He cut the rope at her ankles and pressed the knife into her hand. Hold it. Don't wave it. I've never stabbed anyone. Let's keep it that way. They crawled toward the creek, inch by inch. Gideon spotted a wisp of smoke and a flicker of metal on the rise. They wanted you to find me, May whispered. That truth burned. Using her as bait was low even by frontier standards. Gideon leaned close. We move along the creek bed. We get to my line shack. Then you tell me everything. She nodded. There's one more thing. I saw him before. Around your place. Gideon sent his horse home alone. When the line shack came into view, he waved her inside and barred the door. Clean shirt on the peg, he said. Take your time. After a moment she said, thank you. She told him about names, schedules, livestock numbers. One man said Gideon's ranch was in the way. When she spoke the name, it hit like a kick. Cole. A man who had eaten at his table. Boots sounded outside. Calm. Confident. Gideon checked his rifle. Looks like Cole brought company. Cole's voice drifted in, familiar and cold. Gid, come on out. Gideon opened the door a hand's width. Cole smiled when he saw the blanket. You did that to her, Gideon said. She listened, Cole replied. You found her like I knew you would. You want this land, Gideon said. You'll have to bury me on it. Courage settled over him, quiet and solid. Before Cole could answer, ranch hands arrived, guns drawn. The marshal followed. Control shifted. Cole froze. After it was over, Gideon sat shaking, not from fear, but from weight. May looked at him. You didn't have to. Yeah, Gideon said. I did. The sun dipped low. Some things are worth standing for, even when your knees shake. The world will test you. It will tell you looking away is easier. But every time you choose decency, you pull the world back from the edge, just a little.